Welcome back to another exciting edition of Battle of the Ballads, where I'm joined by Gregory and Joseph Dilcox here, and we have ventured into the year 2016. Uh, we made it. 5 episodes left until the exciting conclusion of, I guess, best song ever since 1984 as of 2021. Uh, so exciting journey so far. Not a ton of responses this week, though I'm noticing the consistency of who it is. I don't think it's getting out there like it used to, and that's okay. But they're fun ones that help me shorten my list quite a bit as well. Sherry Nutter Timothy, which, by the way, congrats on the new job that you absolutely love. I'm glad to hear that for you. That was a nice thing to read for you. I know the last one wasn't that great, so props and congrats. She gave us Closer from the Chainsmokers with Halsey. She said amazing in concert, by the way. Holy from Florida Georgia Line. Sit Still Look Pretty from Daya. Heathens from 21 Pilots. Anything the Weekend Touches. And last but certainly not least, The Joy That Is, Cake by the Ocean from DANCE, from the Younger Jonas, I believe the Younger Jonas. Ellen Sadler, who had her birthday, and we gave her some birthday love, and she gave us Your Best American Girl from Miski. She said she just discovered this last month, doesn't know where she's been. This Is What You Came For from Calvin Harris and Rihanna. Setting the World on Fire from Kenny Chesney and Pink. Starboy from The Weeknd featuring Daft Punk, which, by the way, Melon, I love your new obsession with The Weeknd. It's very welcome and awesome. Holy again from Florida Georgia Line. Good as Hell from Lizzo. Rockabye from Clean Bandit featuring Sean Paul and Anne Marie, and never thought I'd see that on an album list. Always full of surprises. Humble and Kind from Tim McGraw, and the Moana soundtrack is a delight, which I cannot dispute. Jeremiah Perry Hill gave us Lizzo, which, yes, that was quite a revelation. Ali Abdul, he said, honestly, it's a hard one. He might get some hate for this, but Justin Bieber, Sorry or Love Yourself. He says, in his opinion, those were the best written songs of the year. And then we went on a tangent of how he's actually a solid musician, and just to get past all the dickhead stuff, but he's actually a really talented guy. And then Justin Zane gave us his list. He said a smallest, shortest list again of 18. Easiest list he's had to cut down. Catfish and the Bottlemen, 7. 21 Pilots, Cancer. He said an incredible cover of MCR. Even Gerard was jealous. Don't Threaten Me with a Good Time from Panic. Good Grief from Bastille. Empire of the Sun by High and Low. DJ Shadow with Run the Jewels, Nobody Speak. The XX On Hold, the 1975, Somebody Else. Bishop Briggs River and Judah and the Lion, Suit and Jacket. And that rounds out our tracks of the year as suggested by folks at home. Gregory, did you get any this year?
I mean, I got Chirp, of course. So he sent me either probably late last night. It was, he said, had to dig a bit this year, but Ophelia by the Lumineers, and he absolutely loves the Lumineers. Paper Cut by Spanish Love Songs. If you haven't listened to Spanish Love Songs, they're a band I regret I don't listen to more. Chirp absolutely loves them. And so when I've listened to them, I understand why he loves them. Edward 40 Hands by Mom Jeans. Mom Jeans has been a band, I don't know how short the obsession has become, but like I've heard a lot about Mom Jeans from Chirp lately, and he's completely right. Edward 40 Hands is quite fun. Smash Hit by Potty Mouth, and 100% right with that. Much like Ellen, he said, Your Best American Girl by Mitski. And Where Have You Been, Ellen? Not this album, but the album before it. I regret that I did sell because I knew it was going to hold its value still. And it kind of one of those things, like she was everywhere for a little bit in certain music scenes. So I had to sell it before like she fell off. And I don't think I've heard much about her since the next album. So unfortunately, I think she'll probably be back. But then he said Black Rose by Volbeat, Still Breathing from Green Day, No Future from Blink-182, Wednesday Night Melody by Bleached, which Chirp really should have been your song of the year. That track is awesome. It's my favorite Bleach track, I think. Definitely my favorite off the album this year. Get Right from Jimmy Eat World. And he says, and I remember my number one song from Spotify this year, Kingdom Downstate, which I believe is what the intro Cody Rhodes was using on the independent wrestling scene and probably still at AEW. which is probably why that was your number one song that year, Chirp. If I'm wrong, I know you will send me a message to correct me. So thank you in advance for that.
Nice. I dig his list because they're so eclectic, but they also always remind me of songs that I either forgot about or missed for my year, but definitely have on some playlists. So it's always nice hearing those.
Yeah,
And
the fact that the lists are eclectic from everyone really who's still participating with us is awesome.
yeah. I love the just the range there. And I've had people say like how they've updated their playlists or found something different. So it's pretty fun having that. Now, when I did a quick check, I didn't see a lot of debuts that year. What did you come up with, Greg?
Not my longest list, not my shortest list either. But before I go to debuts, the Tragically Hip album this year was the last album with Gordy before he passed away. Also, the last album of new material. They've released a couple like live and I think a greatest hits since then. But R.I.P. Gordy. It's not often you see someone with the impact he did. Canada literally shut down for the 2 nights of the last concerts that were on CTV. Just fantastic. I'm so glad I was able to see them growing up on the border, but it still wasn't until later in my life that I saw them. But just fantastic band. Just tragic loss, but I definitely thought we should mention it. Not a favorite Tragically Hip album of mine, but worth mentioning because of the significance.
Spoiler alert, my song of the year for 2018 is actually a tribute to Gordy. So it's kind of interesting that you mentioned that.
Well, and some of the tribute videos out there are just fantastic. The artists, like they've gotten to join them to participate in the tracks. But so the DJ Marshmello debut album, Kevin Gates, Lucy Strum, who's hard rock and Christian rock, another DJ Ashes, because, well, it was the year of DJs releasing debut albums, I guess. Lapsley, which really threw me off last year because I thought it came out last year because I'd gotten the album before the release thanks to a Record of the Month club I was in. But this album from Lapsley is just brilliant. And it also kind of threw things off because I also thought that I must be wrong about the Torres, and it came out this year, but there's a Torres album in 2015 that came out that's just brilliant. If you haven't listened to Torres, I'm going to retroactively add some Torres to the 2015 playlist. She's just amazing. Zayn, DVSN, the Claypool Lennon Delirium, which is Les Claypool, of course, but also Shawn Lennon, which is a fun combination. Alice Bagg, who was the lead singer of one of the first wave feminist bands in the 70s, feminist punk bands in the 70s, The Bags, but she released her first solo album. It's fun. I had never heard it before, but I went through and listened to it. It's a fun album, not a great album. I think she has better material in later albums. Kane Hill is a band I'm only mentioning because I thought for sure it would have been a country band because that just sounds like a country name. It is a new metal band. I did not realize new metal bands were coming out in 2016. I thought it died with Woodstock 99, and even the new metal bands moved on. So that was interesting. DJ Snake, Water Parks, Mom Jeans, the debut album was this year. Soccer Mommy, debut album this year. T-Rextasy's debut album. Grey Apes, who are just a really, really fun band. This is a fun album. And then a small local Pittsburgh band, Young Lungs. They had released a couple singles before this, but this is their debut album. I saw them a couple times around Pittsburgh, and they actually played that stop at the Warped Tour and that last Warped Tour tour. Just really, really fun band. They did a cover of Teenage Dirtbag, and I think it's a fantastic cover of that, although there's plenty of fantastic covers of Teenage Dirtbag out there. But just wanted to shout out like a local Pittsburgh band. I don't think they've released anything since 2018, but still go give them some Spotify listens.
There you go. Nice plug there. Longer list than I would have come up with, to be quite honest, based on what I saw. So extensive, wonderful job as always. And I promise you, I've already gone through puberty. I am just sick, hence the voice. It has already cracked in the past. Joseph, my friend, you got any of those punk tracks for us this year?
I don't. There was no Punk Goes in 2016.
Did they just stop?
No, they have not. There's at least 2 more, I believe. Punk Goes Pop 7 was released in 17. I don't think I particularly care for most of them on there, but we'll get those updates next week. And then I think 8 was released in 2020. So I think there's still 2 more Punk Goes.
See, I only ever listened to the Punk Goes acoustic. Those are the only ones I've really kept up with. So I didn't listen to many of the others.
I have all of them on my iPod up through, I want to say 5, and I never got the Christmas albums, but
I don't blame you there. So what are your tracks of 2016 for us?
My tracks for 2016, kind of a short list. There's a couple of albums that I absolutely love that came out this year, but there's not a lot of music that I liked. And again, like I said, I spent half of the year not being able to really digest new music.
Right.
So if it came out in the second half, I either had to order the record, which there are a couple on here that I had vinyls delivered out to Thule, or it was the beginning of the year, and we managed to get it up to Thule. So we'll go through a couple of those. But anyway, starting with Rachel Platten. She released, I think it was probably her debut, like major label debut album this year. Fight Song and Stand By You were both off that one. I kind of like these songs, but truthfully, I enjoy that she got a little bit of fame because she did a like a college campus tour while I was still at Plattsburgh, and so Josh Preja and I got a chance to see her when she had 4 songs recorded, which was actually pretty cool. She was great. I also have both a 3 and a 4 song run for this year, but I'm going to talk about those when I get to my short list because both bands are on my short lists. Tonight Alive released their first, I think it's considered their debut, Limitless. They had some EPs before.
I saw it as their third, so
yeah, I think the first 2 are technically EPs, but
okay.
They're also out of like Australia, so I'm never quite sure what counts as. They could have released 2 that never really got picked up steam at all over here. So really great song, really great album. I've seen Tonight Alive now, I think 3 times live. But Oxygen, How Does It Feel are both off this one, and they're both amazing. Haley Reinhart, she did her cover of Can't Help Falling in Love this year, and it's my favorite version of that song, which might be blasphemy to most people, but Band of Horses, a band I kind of like, I've seen live, but mostly this is on there for John. My buddy John loves Band of Horses. When we were doing our major concert hopping in California, that was on the list. I didn't end up getting to make it to that show with him, but it's something we've listened to a lot together, so that's on here. Ingrid Michaelson, who we talked about a little bit last year or the year before, she pops up again. This was a really fun album, and there's a couple really great songs off it. Old Days is a nice just trip down kind of nostalgia, like maybe if you don't even connect with everything in the song, but the themes of the song kind of make you just sit there and reminisce. But then Hell No was the big one off this. And the music video for this she does with Deaf West Theater, and it's all signed out. And so she did a lot of TV appearances where she brought the theater troupe with her to perform live on a number of shows, which I thought was really awesome.
You know, it's crazy. I've been listening to her for so many years, and it wasn't until I think the last couple of years we talked about songs that she really hit the lists when she's been making music for a long ass time.
Yes. I think this is probably like album 7 or 8 for her, something crazy. Shawn Mendes, I included this. I don't like this song, Treat You Better, but it was one of the few songs from early in the year that made its way out to Thule. So my buddy Cody and I would just randomly bust out into singing this song at each other at work, just like passing through the halls and stuff like that. And it never failed to make one of us laugh. So that's on here. Gambino, he released Redbone. It was on the album this year.
It's one of the few songs of that album I actually enjoyed too.
Same. My boy Posty with I think this was his first one, maybe
second. I thought
Did I miss one? I'm so bad at trying to catch some of
I
these.
think he had
because
like
the
a
way
release
Wikipedia-
before this that was mostly SoundCloud and not like released.
Was this the year Beer Bongs and Bentleys, or was that the next year?
No, that's the next one.
Oh.
But this one, or was that? I don't know. I'm getting my years mixed up. But this one had Deja Vu and I Fall Apart, which I love both of those songs. Hold on, I got the dog at the door. Needy ass dogs. I Prevail. This is a debut. Post-hardcore band. They kind of got some notoriety back in 2014 because that was when they released their cover of Blank Space, which is so much better than the original. But they have a couple of songs, Scars and Alone, off this first album that are really fantastic. The Chainsmokers featuring Halsey, Closer was this year. Another one of the few things that made its way out to Thule for us. Foxes, who we mentioned, I think 2 weeks ago or last week. She released another album this year. Go check out the track Amazing if you haven't heard it. It's, well, amazing. And then to round out kind of my long list for this year, Billie Eilish released Ocean Eyes this year. And I don't think it made it on the first album. I went to double check and I didn't see it on there because I'd have waited. Anyway, moving on to my short list, my runners up. Tonight Alive shows up here again with Drive, maybe my favorite Tonight Alive song in their discography, definitely off that album Limitless. And then we get into my 4-song run of the year is from Panic at the Disco, Emperor's New Clothes, Death of a Bachelor, Crazy Equals Genius, and LA Devotee are all off of Death of a Bachelor that came out this year. What a fantastic album. What a wonderful run of songs. Not much more I can say about that other than that is my 4-song run. And then my 3-song run comes from one of my favorite bands of all time, one I've talked about at length on this podcast already. A Day to Remember released the album Bad Vibrations. That song would make my short list off that album, but it's not part of the run. The run goes Reassemble, Justified, We Got This. And that is my 3-song run of the year, with We Got This taking my number 1 spot for the year. Song of the year, A Day to Remember, We Got This.
All right. Just updating the Hall of Records here. Beautiful. I had no idea what to expect from anybody this year, to be quite honest. So I'm guessing we're going to have a very eclectic list heading into this year. Gregory, what do you got, my friend?
Well, first, with Tonight Alive, Joe, one of the times you saw them was Warped Tour in Pittsburgh, right?
Yes.
Which is kind of hilarious because I also saw them at Warped Tour in Pittsburgh, of course, but we did not see them together at that show.
No, I think I had just rolled off the hill waking up to go watch them.
Yeah, nice. we were in really great shape that day, and Joe got separated quite quickly, and my phone never ended up charged the night before, so it was kind of like, oh, we'll run into each other eventually. And no one else had his phone number, of course, but I think it was it 303 or Real Big Fish? One of the two of them. I just saw you by the stage, and I'm like, all right, there's my brother. I'm gonna go catch up with him because otherwise, who knows when we'll see him again.
Yep, I found a nice shady spot on the hill to just lay down and take a nap for a little bit while there were bands I didn't care about.
I'd done that same thing, so.
And I miss those days.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago for some of us.
So what are we rolling with, Greg?
All right, so much shorter list for myself, but much like Joe, there were a couple albums I absolutely loved this year. I started off with Your Best American Girl, simply because I loved that it was getting some love and the fact that 2 people were on their list. So
yeah,
Dangerous Woman by Ariana Grande. This isn't my favorite Ariana release, but I just wanted to give love to this track. I think it's my favorite off this album. Against Me, Shape Shift with Me, I believe, is this album. Probably my least favorite Against Me release. but 1203 and Boyfriend are two tracks I really do like off this. David Bowie's last album, Black Star, came out this year. I don't love Black Star. I know a lot of people do. It's good. It's not great, and probably because it really does read like a eulogy in a lot of times.
Yeah.
But Lazarus, which may be the most eulogy of the tracks, though, is my favorite off of it. Jeff Rosenstock, he released, I think this album was Worry, and this is one of those I could have had like a 4 or 5 song run, but I decided not to, just because my list was already so short that I didn't want it to be 10 tracks, but 8 of them Jeff Rosenstock. There's 2 more albums that could have been that same situation, but We Beg to Explode and Pash Rash, I think, are 2 of the early songs I heard of him, both off this album, and they're fantastic. Mentioned Bleached when talking about Chirp's list. Sour Candy and Hollywood, We Did It All Wrong, were 2 great tracks off of this. I mentioned Young Lungs, False Promises, and Battle Cry off this album, I think, are my 2 favorites. Great Apes, so I'm gonna get a lot of debut albums in this year, which is fantastic that artists are releasing albums so good for the first ones, and a lot of them had been around for a while before they released these albums. But The Last Days of Tranquility, Bullard Hex, and The Escapist off this Great Apes album. Then that Lapsley album I love, which I thought about getting the record, but honestly, I'm terrible at putting them back in their spots when I pull them out for this podcast, so I didn't want to pull it out because I got to get the rest organized. But Heartless, Hurt Me, Tell Me the Truth, and this is another album I think I could have done 2-3 track runs and felt pretty confident. I don't think I could have connected a 4, but it could have been 2-3 track runs. Smash It, Potty Mouth, much like how Chirp put it on his, like, I love Potty Mouth. I'm sad that they're breaking up. And then Carly Rae Jepsen records too much music. And I mean this as a great thing, but she released Emotion B-side EP, when it's kind of funny. It's an EP because it was 8 tracks in 28 minutes. So some of the actual full LPs of this year that I saw were that exact same length. But this is another one I could have gone 1 through 8. I love this. That's how good that the songs that don't make the actual album are for her. But Higher, Fever, Body Language, and Roses I have on here. I think Fever and Body Language is a 2-track run. Then my short list is going to be Operator, He Don't Call Me by Lapsley. Lapsley has a very disco feel to her, and I love it. And this one is probably the most disco of them. It's just really, really fun. My favorite track off that Carly Rae EP is First Time. And that's the first song off that track. This is the one that really sticks out. If this definitely should have been this one and Roses, I don't know for sure how they got left off the album, but we'll get into that with Emotion, which is the next album, and then Emotion B-side, I think, is again, or whatever that is. In between these 2 albums, this one here with the double and then Emotion, she released a whole disco album. She just scratched. Not she wrote some disco tracks and didn't release them. She recorded an entire disco album she never released, which is just a shame because I want to hear that. Jeff Rosenstock, I did something weird last night. Maybe top 3 track of his for me. T-Rextasy off their debut as well. I Want to Be a Punk Rocker. The rest of this album is okay, but I Want to Be a Punk Rocker is just so, so good. And just because I told Chirp in this video that it should have been his song of the year, Wednesday Night Melody by Bleached is my song of the year.
Nice. Taking the records. Now do you think Chirp's gonna be like, yeah, you're right? Is he gonna argue in the comments?
No, I like that he knew what his most played song of Spotify was that year, and that's what he ended with. I like that.
Oh, Chirp, I want you to argue in the comments. Do it. Make it happen. Make it happen.
He can't comment on his PlayStation though. So
I wanted to say you stole a song. All right, so I have quite a short list as well. This is the first time that it wasn't short because folks commented on the songs I had on my list. It was just short in general. As I've said, this is around the time where I was doing parties and stuff like that. So I was just overly sick of many songs. So I have a really short list this year, but I'm going to dive into it. So Bruno gave us 24K Magic. That's what I like. And Versace on the Floor. Big fan of Bruno. So whatever he puts out, I'm going to jump on. All Time Low from John Bellion. Bad and Bougie from Migos. Not because I really like the song, but it kind of revigorated the music video front in terms of people paying attention to music videos again. Black Beatles from Ray Strummerd. Cold Water from Major Lazer. And Greg, you took my Ariana Grande song, but I'll go with Side to Side just because it was everywhere. But I really do enjoy the song you listed. Dirt on My Boots from John Party. Formation from Beyonce. Just such an awesome song. Sure and Certain from Jimmy Eat World. This is probably my least liked Jimmy Eat World album, I think. But Sure and Certain's a sweet song. And I happened to see them live with Third Eye Blind, actually. And they opened with that song, which is really cool. Hand Clap from Fits and the Tantrums, which was everywhere. And my friend Tim's daughter, it's her favorite song, so I got to throw it on there. I know I said Moana last year. Ellen roasted me numerous times, and I think I'm just going to call it bullying at this point. So Ellen, just stop. We got Moana in 2016. It was even on that list before I listed it that year. But I'm going to go how far I'll go from Alessia Cara because I love her and I love that version. If I Told You from Darius Rucker. Love Me Now from John Legend. May We All from Florida Georgia Line. I think it's one of the only songs that I enjoy, but I think it's mainly because I just like sitting on my deck drinking whiskey and hearing that song kind of thing in the summer. Mercy from Shawn Mendes. Million Reasons from Lady Gaga. One Dance from Drake, who I'm not a big fan of Drake, but just can't deny how that song was everywhere that year. Same Drugs from Chance the Rapper. That's actually, I think, my favorite song of Chance's. So definitely up there for me. She's Got Away with Words from Blake Shelton. Starving from Haley Steinfeld. Take It All Back from Judah and the Lion. Work From Home from Fifth Harmony. And then I had a 6-song short list. My Shot by The Roots from the Hamilton soundtrack with the remix and everything else. Just I love that song. Work by Rihanna was everywhere. Can't Stop This Feeling from Justin Timberlake from Trolls. I mean, that was fire. I mean, that took over the world. Cheap Thrills from Sia. I absolutely love that track. Bury It from Churches featuring Haley Williams. It's one of my favorite songs, to be quite honest. And then my song of the year was Broken Halos from Chris Stapleton. I know it's a big surprise to those who have followed the show thus far, but I just think the songwriting on this entire album is superb, and that song especially is just absolutely incredible. So Broken Halos from Chris Stapleton. I think that may be my first ever country song of the year, though I don't count it as country. I just count it as Chris Stapleton.
I was about to say, you love most Chris Stapleton tracks.
I do. I'm a big Chris Stapleton fan because he feels like an old singer-songwriter vibe as opposed to like this pop country, whatever the hell that crap is on the radio. He's just a great, talented songwriter and guitar player. And just a musical scholar in many ways. So very eclectic list. I think probably our most eclectic list.
Probably. Just to highlight how, so most of the songs you just listed, Dan, I either don't know to this day, actively avoided at that time.
You at least listened to Bury It from Churches, right?
Nope. I didn't. So I know of Churches, obviously, and I've listened to things before and after this point, but I don't know that song, and that's insane to me because Haley Williams is fantastic, and I normally will listen to anything she's in. So
it's my favorite track that Haley Williams is on, whether it's Paramore or that or anything else. That's my favorite Haley Williams track. So I highly recommend checking it out.
Yeah, when I was working at the Exchange, I think that particular Churches album is one of those records that as soon as we put out the vinyl when we got it, sold pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, it's like that and Untitled, Unmastered from Kendrick Lamar, which came out this year.
Yeah.
Which is a Kendrick I don't own still because I could never get a copy of it because it went out as soon as I put it out. And also probably why I didn't have a track from it because I was waiting to finally get a copy of the vinyl and listen to it.
I remember being so excited about that album, then I just couldn't get into it, to be quite honest. Yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't. It just didn't live up to the hype I think I created for him, quite frankly. So.
Well, and let's face it, not everyone can release a whole album of stuff that didn't make their other albums and it'd be great. So.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely got more listens for me than probably a lot of stuff that year. It just didn't quite hit the list. So we're venturing into 2017, coming close to the end here. This has been a fantastic journey. One of the highlights of my week, next to our No Coast Defender Monday nights that Gregory and I did last night, which I believe was posted up today on Spotify and YouTube. So definitely check that out at Cool Points TV on YouTube and Spotify with No Coast Defenders. Gregory, any plugs, my friend?
Well, I'll let you. I think I stole Gary from you last week, so I know he's blowing you up right now. So I'll let you do Gary. Really, just the same one as always. Substack.com/coolpoints, or find me on Facebook with Cool Points. But I'm excited for next year. I know this year was a down year for all of us, but looking at my list of just things I needed to remember, not to forget, because I don't think they'll be on Wikipedia. There are 9 debut albums next year of artists that have tracks I love.
Nice.
So, I mean, if that's just the debuts, I'm really, really excited about what 2017 has to bring once I start diving in to see what's there. So
makes for a great year.
So my shout out is us next week. Tell your friends, folks.
Joseph, who's your defensive player of the year?
It's Parsons.
All right,
it's not even close to in my opinion.
The world heard
I thought it was until doing some deeper dives on not just like the counting stats, because again, 10 sacks is not that much, but considering he also spends more time as an off-ball linebacker, it's what he's doing is insane, and nobody else in the league is asked to do and play as many different positions as he is.
The world heard it here first.
Well, with the mediocre play of the rookie quarterbacks, and especially with Mac having a bad game this week, I heard some people throw his name around for rookie of the year, like completely.
Well, so he's definitely winning the rookie defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
And then I think he should become only the second player to ever win them both in the same season. LT is the only other player to ever do it. But I honestly don't even think it's that close. I get TJ Watt's got more sacks, but TJ Watt does one thing and he does it exceptionally well. Micah Parsons does 3 things and does them all equally as well.
Wow. Well, I think what Watt has in his favor is, I believe through this point in his career, he's got just as many sacks as his brother, who did win MVP at this point, or defense player of the year at this point in his career. So I think, like, for me, who doesn't really watch football, I know that stat. So I think that's going to be, you know how it is. Award season is all narratives.
Yes.
And that's a good narrative.
And they also hate, like, one of the things I can never wrap my mind around is how does an offensive player win MVP, but is also not the offensive player of the year?
Mm-hmm.
People voting on these things hate giving multiple awards to the same people. So the fact that they're going to be writing down Micah Parsons as defensive rookie of the year means they're going to not put him down as the defensive player of the year. And it's all going to be a mistake, of course, but it's the politics of awards season. I mean, they're awards. If he had his choice, he'd win a Super Bowl over defensive player of the year anyway.
Well, we have many weeks of COVID to get through in the NFL season, so we shall see what actually happens and transpires.
It's true.
But as Gregory did mention, Gary B, the casual comic guy, he saw Spider-Man tonight. He loved it. You know what he's going to do like a real hero? He's not going to say shit. So the rest of you should also keep up with that. Tune in next week as we tackle 2017. Hoping for some more comments. I know folks are home for the holidays with their families and all that stuff. We're in the home stretch and it's been a blast, and I'm looking forward to our theme episodes coming up in the near future, which we'll hash out even more. So until next week, gentlemen, thank you once again. Enjoy the family this weekend. Much love. And for all those who tuned in, we'll be back next week.
Yeah, feel better, Dan.
Thank you.